People always run away from pain, as I've seen people running away from pain, running away from pain, running away, away from pain. Let me share this story from my childhood to understand or help you understand why you should not run away from the pain if you're really looking for extreme pleasure. If you're looking extreme pleasure, then you have to understand that the pain and the pleasure, they are two different spectrums like this. Imagine a rubber, and one side of the rubber is pain, and another side of the rubber is pleasure, right? And we all know that there is an intensity of pain and intensity of pleasure. The manifestation of pain could be sorrowness, or your heart is sinking, or you're feeling very sad. Anger is different. Anger and pain, they're completely two different emotions, by the way. Pain is different. So, if I have to give an example of pain, last night I was in the process of uploading the videos on my Mac, and suddenly I realized that my Mac charger is not working. Now, the intensity of pain is always high if you're already thinking about that pain. Imagine you want to book the ticket and you take the help of someone to book your air tickets, and that someone has done mistakes several times in booking your air ticket, and then you tell that person that I booked the air ticket because that person is authorized to book your air tickets since many days or years. But that person has a habit of doing mistakes, not every time, but sometimes. And then you booked a very important ticket, you want to reach somewhere, and suddenly in the night you said that person that hey, book the ticket. You get up in the morning, and then you see that the ticket is wrong. The intensity of this pain is higher because this memory of this pain is already there. Imagine this happening with you for the first time, then the intensity of the pain is less. So it all depends upon what is the intensity of pain. And no need to say that pain and pleasure both are based upon not happiness. Pain and pleasure both based upon very limited memory of this life. Happiness is not based upon the limited memory of this life. Happiness is beyond pain and pleasure. So you will be more painful because the memory package is already there in your mind about that pain. So every time when we have the similar pain, we stretches the pain and we increase the intensity of the pain. But more and more painful or experience you have, you also learn or experience more and more pleasure. It's just like more and more thirsty you are, you also experience how to quench your thirst. Right? More thirsty, more pain, but you get water, more pleasure. So if you really want to understand the extreme level of pleasure, then you have to also understand the extreme level of pain. And you can understand both this spectrum only when you experience it, not when you just listen to it. Let me share one incidence of pain from my life which will help you to explain the intensity of the pain. The biggest pain of my life was my relationship with darkness. Because I heard the story of ghost very early in my life from my mother, I started believing in that story. And then because I started believing in that story, and that story was very close to my heart, because that story was about my grandmother, where my mother said she was cleaning the rice with other ladies. You know, in the rice we take out the small stones out, and there were 5 to 7 ladies. I was 5 to 6 years old, and 5 to 7 ladies were sitting together. And my mother said, I knew this, that my grandmother was not there on this planet Earth. My grandmother left her family very early. It's like my mother was hardly 3 months old when she left the world, the body. So I was always under the impression at the age of 5, 6 that hey, my grandmother is not there on the planet Earth. But suddenly when I saw my mother sharing this ghost story that one day when she was crossing from one village to another village for schooling, because she was the first lady who completed 10th grade from her school, and there was no 11th grade or beyond that in her village. She had to go to other village, and it was around 12 in the day, and she was walking in the field, and suddenly she saw a lady. She's sharing this with other ladies now, my mother, and that lady was tall, wearing white color sari, red color tikka, open hairs, and she was describing it. And I conceived the whole idea of ghost very early in my life, and which has helped by Bollywood. Right, it's been shown in the movies, Indian movies, that ghosts always come in the dark and they always kill and they're always harmful and this and that. And oh my God, that was a time when I was a child. There were some amazing ghost movies where they look so ugly, and they change the way they look, and suddenly they look beautiful, and suddenly they look ugly, and this and that and this and that. So uh, very early in my life, because our home was in the when I was 5 to 6 years old. So my dad was not there with me; he was in army, and our home was like in a big sugarcane field, and there was a 2 layers of wooden, nice building, 200, 300 years old building, and in that wooden, big building, there was staircase, and below the staircase there was an angle like this, and we were living in this angle, and there was no washroom inside, so everyone had to go outside for the empty the bladder. But I never used to get up in the night to empty my bladder because the fear of ghosts, the fear of darkness. So the darkness, it's an element of life. You cannot say that darkness is a concept. How do we, by the way, validate whether the element really belongs to us or not? If that element is there with other animals also, if other animals also getting influenced and inspired, or other animals also have their elements, same elements, then that's a nature. So darkness is an element. So my relationship with this particular element, darkness, was so bad, and I could not able to ignore it, and it was so painful for me that that has really become a big barrier for me to communicate with people and stay silent and stay peaceful, because darkness come every 12 hours. And slowly I started training my bladder to empty my bladder in the bed only, and I developed the habit of bed wetting. I trained my bladder to wet in the bed till the age of 17, by the way. Now, what happened because of this? When I started wetting my bed, Indian culture doesn't allow us to speak and talk and this and that, so no one talked to me. I remember going at the age of 7 to 8 to a doctor, to Ayurvedic doctor, and popping some pills. But no one spoke to me that, hey, what's wrong? And neither I had that courage to tell the people that, hey, this is the problem. Neither I had that capability to explain my feelings in the words, because to explain your feeling in the word, which is the privilege for humans, you have to develop that skill. You need a listener for that. You need a people who are non-advisors, and most of the parents in India are super advisors. So because of this, always had this pain in my mind that, oh my God, what if people come to know that I wet the bed? Because wetting bed is always correlated with cowardice. Cowardness, isn't it? Cowardness. And it's like if you have some friends, and if you want to tease someone, the friends come together, they just hide behind the wall, and then they say, "Ah." So I was that person to whom they used to use as an element, as an instrument, to get entertained or tease someone. It was okay for me when I was 7, 8, 9, and no one in my school knew this. But then one day, even in my school, they came to know, because I was in an Indian Army school, and there was one girl. Her name is XYZ, and she started living very close to my home, and my friend circle got the same circle. When I say friend circle, the people who are living close to me and they knew about the bedwetting habit. So I always with them when they're playing cricket and this and that, because you always need people to play this kind of group sports. But I always had this fear in my mind that okay, if I fight, if I say something, they always have this trigger, always they have this pain point where they can say something and then I feel embarrassed and then I feel angry and then so the bottom line is keep your mouth shut and just move on.